Breaking overnight, former President Donald Trump is projected to win the presidential election and return to the White House in January. The results are not official yet, as mail ballots still need to be counted, and that could take a few days.
But according to the Associated Press, Trump has 267 electoral votes, while Vice President Harris right now has 224. Trump needs just 3 more electoral votes to secure the victory. Trump has won key battleground states, including Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and also South Carolina. Meanwhile, Harris won Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Delaware.
In Washington, Republicans have won control of the U.S. Senate, retaking the chamber for the first time in 4 years. As of right now, Republicans have 51 seats. Democrats have 42. 7 races have yet to be called. However, since there are 100 Senate seats, only 51 are needed, of course, to secure the majority. This means local Democratic senators will likely lose their committee positions, most notably Senator Jack Reed, who's chairman of the powerful Armed Services Committee.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives still up for grabs. We're still waiting on about 64 races to be called. Here's where things stand right now. Republicans are ahead, holding 195 seats compared to 176 for Democrats. Republicans flipped a House seat in Michigan that was previously held by a Democrat. We have team coverage this morning. Very busy morning. Erica Ritchie standing by with results from a couple of the local mayoral races.
First, though, let's get right to Kristen Burnell, live in studio with the latest on the race for the White House. Kristen.
Well, good morning, Kate and Patrick. As of this hour, as you mentioned, Trump has 267 electoral college votes and Harris has 224. 270 are needed to win the election. Trump spoke just a few hours ago about his projected victory.
Before us will not be easy, but I will bring every ounce of energy, spirit, and fight that I have in my soul to the job that you've entrusted to me. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world.
By his running mate, J.D. Vance, and several members of his family as he spoke to his supporters from Florida. Overnight, he won the key swing states of Pennsylvania and Georgia, but mail-in ballots are still being tallied. Votes are also still being counted in Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada, where a winner has not yet been declared. At last check in the popular vote, Harris has over 64 million votes and Trump has just over 69 million. The current vice president has not yet spoken. We do know she was in Washington, D.C. overnight, and again, a winner has not been officially declared. Reporting live in studio, Kristen Burnell, 12 News.
Arguably no surprises in the local mayoral races, all of the incumbents winning re-election.
The biggest local mayoral race was in Cranston, where Republican Ken Hopkins narrowly defeated Democratic challenger Robert Ferry with 52% of the vote. Erica Ritchie joins us now live in studio with the latest on that race.
And when the mayor spoke around 10 o'clock last night, guys, he did keep repeating the fact that his victory was a team effort, thanking everyone from his family to his union supporters and, of course, those who voted for him yesterday and in the days leading up to the election. But he also thanked his opponent, Richard Ferry, for getting involved in the political process, and he extended an invitation to those who didn't vote for him.
It's one Cranston. We're all in it together. One Cranston, one heartbeat. I've said that from day one. And whether they didn't vote for me or not, they still have to live in this city. So we need to continue to work together. It was the highlight of my year.
That invitation for collaboration was what he started his victory speech with last night. He said he needs that collaboration in order to achieve his priorities of his new term, which are creating strong financial and business principles and protecting taxpayers, along with bolstering the police department to keep city streets safe. His goal is to keep Cranston what he calls the premier city to work, live, and raise a family in Rhode Island. He told us last night that this was a draining election because of the primary process when he was going head-to-head with Barbara Ann Fenton-Fung, and because as of 10:30 last night, Robert Ferry had not called to concede since his campaign was still counting the mail ballots, but Hopkins is confident in his victory. Live in studio, Erica Ritchie, 12 News.
Continue our election coverage now. More local races are over as well.
Across the board locally, both Massachusetts and Rhode Island saw multiple incumbents return to their seats, including in Warwick, where Mayor Frank Picozzi has overwhelmingly won re-election to another term with 73% of the vote, beating challengers Leah Hazelwood and Patrick Maloney. This will be Picozzi's first 4-year term because the term limits changed from 2 to 4 years back in 2022. He addressed what's next for the city.
I don't expect to change course now. I mean, we're doing great. We have a lot of development going on in work, a lot of businesses open. Everything's just positive right now, and the people are feeling it too.
Despite coming up short locally, Republicans in Rhode Island had a relatively strong night. Trump performed better than any GOP nominee in the state since 1988. Republican challengers for congressional seats fared well as well. Democrat Sheldon Whitehouse, though, will remain in the Senate for another 6 years. After defeating Republican State Rep Patricia Morgan with 60% of the vote, she will continue to represent District 26 at the State House, though. Meanwhile, Whitehouse spoke on what he has planned for the upcoming term.
I would really love to be able to take Social Security and Medicare and be able to put them on a sound financial footing so that families in their 30s and 40s here in Rhode Island, when they're planning their futures, can know that Social Security and Medicare will be there for them.
And Massachusetts also having their race for Senate between Senator Elizabeth Warren and challenger John Deaton. Much like her Rhode Island counterpart, Warren has won with 60% of the vote currently tallied to return to the U.S. Senate. Both candidates spoke on the results.
I am grateful down to my toes that you are sending me back to the Senate to fight for you.
I just called Senator Warren and congratulated her on her victory. People who simply showed up and gave me an opportunity to earn their support. I want to thank each and every one of you.
Taking a look now at a few of the ballot questions, Rhode Islanders have overwhelmingly voted to reject holding a once-a-decade constitutional convention. 63% of voters were against, while 37% were for it. So this means the state's constitution remains as is for now. And
60% of Rhode Island voters also approved question 2, the higher education bond that would provide $160 million in funding for URI and Rhode Island College.
In Massachusetts, voters approved removing the MCAS test as a high school graduation requirement. You can see right now, with results still being tallied, 59% approved, 41% rejected. And
one of the other highly talked about ballot questions regarding increasing the minimum wage for tipped workers. This one, a landslide. 64% of voters rejected it, meaning there is no change to the current minimum wage, and servers and bartenders can continue to earn tips as they have in the past.